It's being recorded. I hope that's okay with everyone. So what I was going to do was just talk to you about a few simple things about the gradebook. And I've got a practice shell that Whitney made for me yesterday that you can see. And I wanted to start with some of the initial settings you can do when you set up your gradebook. And normally this would happen at the beginning of the term before you've got students in it. But under the settings tab here at the bottom on the left, and there's this course details. There are a couple of things you can do that affect your gradebook. Down here, there's a couple of things. Where'd it go? Large course. Yeah, okay, there it is. Got it highlighted now. Large course, if you have a really big class, you can break it up into student groups if you select here. And then you can have a course-wide grading scheme. So these are a couple of options. These are not options that I generally use, but if you have a large class, this might be handy. And if you have a course-wide grading scheme, that would be another option. One thing that I do use that's very handy, down here at the bottom, it's very obscure. You have this more options. Can you see that? More options. Click this. There's a really handy menu here. I send my students announcements like once a day generally, and I keep the top two, the most recent two, at the top of the home page of the shell, so that when they go in to look at their, and see the last two announcements that I sent out. They can set those up to get them from their phones too, but not everyone does. And some of them are on a plan where it costs money to have an announcement come through. So this is usually unchecked when you start, but if you check that, you can have quite a few announcements visible. And I just limit it to 2, so it's not too confusing, not too much stuff up on top. Then there are some other options here, and these are not just gradebook, but just general things to be aware of. And I used this once, one term, and then I came back the next term, and I couldn't find it. And it's very small, right here under this options tab. And then be sure to update. You have to save everything generally. Be sure to click update course details before you leave that page. So course details, that option thing is right down here, okay? One other thing that I do is I put a picture in here just for fun. That's easy to do, just upload anything. It could be whatever image you like, but that's just something to catch the student's eye. The other tab I'd like to look at and talk about today is feature options. These can affect the gradebook. There are options for learning mastery. These are unselected right now. This is actually just a practice shell, but you could select these. Learning mastery gradebook ties in maybe your rubrics with the learning outcomes, and it allows that data to be tracked. So I think as we move forward with accreditation, we'll be using this feature more. Student learning mastery gradebook is something that students can, allows them to see if they're achieving their outcomes. Anonymous instructor annotations. Again, this is not one that I use, but if you have TAs who are helping you correct papers, they can do so anonymously if you just turn that on. Mastery paths is also another one you might want to use to connect your outcomes with the results of what your students are doing. And then there are a few other things I think Chris might have talked about during his quiz presentation, the new quizzes enhancement or RCA enhancements. But I think for gradebook, these 3 or 4 are mainly what you'll use. Okay. These slide switches, they just turn on or off. They don't have to be saved. So unlike the other page where you better press save or lose your data, these are just turned on or off. Okay, and let's see. So I guess next we'll move to the next tab over. This is what my main page would look at. published. Sometimes I forget to publish my courses. These are the two announcements. So I sent these out today. This is a fake shell with just Chris and Whitney and Ariadne, and I'm the teacher, and then I have 4 students. And I just have, it's very simple, just a few modules in here. And we'll take a look at that in the context of the gradebook. So I wanted to mention you can break your class into study groups. I'm teaching a Emporium math class this term. We have 3 levels of math in the same class. So I pulled in some of those modules, and these are all reduced. But you can have students in your roster can be assigned to like this TSOD 053, and they will be the only ones who see this module, which is assigned to that level. So if you wanted to do that, you can click the People tab over here. The People tab is where you can see everyone in your class and what status they are. So this is a very small class, and some of my students haven't even looked at. So from here, you click Project Groups. And I made up a couple of classes here before, so you could see, and I moved the students in, but it's very easy. If you click plus group, add a group, then make up a name. So I have one more group, so I saved this for the demo, Math 056. You can set a limit, but I'm just going to drag and drop my students in and open this up to expose that box. And then you can drag your students' names down here. So now Ari is part of this group, and she will only see the assignments assigned to that group. So in my class, I have general math exercises that everyone gets, and so everyone sees those. And then the low, intermediate, high level math students only see the assignments that they're supposed to be working on. That's really helped reduce a lot of confusion. So this is a useful tool, and you'll see how it looks in the gradebook in just a second. And let's see. All right, so let's take a look at the assignments tab. So right here, you can click on that to open this up. These are all the assignments in the class. And let's take a look at one of these. So I had Whitney submitted an assignment to this class, but here's the one I just added. Let's take a look at this one. And so this is Algebra Basics class. So this is the higher level of math that I teach. We'll go into edit mode. And down here, so I don't know how familiar you are with the gradebook, but you can choose assignment areas. So for this, I have my students work at Khan to master certain skills. So that's the subject area. And they earn points without submission because I go to Khan and I fill in the points for them. But if you are using groups, you'll want to mark this as a group assignment. And then if the students are all getting their own grade, you want to mark assign grades to each student individually. Otherwise, everyone will get the same grade. So those are the 2 really important ones to know the difference between. And then under group set, you can choose project groups because I set up that category. Come down here now to who I'm going to assign it to. So the default, let me bring this up a little higher. The default for this is everyone, but if you click the X, you'll get rid of that and it will show your options. So this one is for the Math 56 students. So I only have one, that's Ari. So I will assign it to her, I think. And then I can pick a due date. You can put in more, and you can even assign it to individual students. So if you didn't want to have a certain group, right? You can decide it if you've got a student working independently. And then choose your due date, say tomorrow at midnight or something, and then when it's available and how long it'll be available. So I usually leave those empty because I have students who want to start early or they're late and they want access, and I don't want to have to go in and change the settings. So on this page, it's important to click save because you will or you can lose. They're getting better about saving your data for you, but better be safe than sorry. You will get this warning when you have assigned something to a specific group. They'll say, are you sure you've assigned this to all the people you need to assign it to? You can continue. You'll get that every time. So even if you go in to change a date, they'll say, are you sure you want to assign it to these people? Okay, so now this is assigned to that one group, and from Aries' student view, she would only see the math assignment for her level. And then the other two levels, the intermediate and beginning, would be visible only to the students in that group. Okay, so I guess we could take a look at the gradebook next. So from the grades tab over here on the left, just click that. Oops, click that. And this is the gradebook. And when I opened it, I guess it was this term, I was looking for my filters up here and I thought, wow, where are they? And so there are these little menus here, drop-down menu, the gradebook menu, the view menu.
I'm not sure if everyone else lost your share, but I lost your share.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. I saw something flash. It was a green flash. I thought it was the sun. The share screen was gone. Sorry, everybody. So,
question while I'm here. Sue asks, if it's a group grade, can you still change a student or two's grades manually as needed in the gradebook, or does everybody in that group get that grade?
So when I was learning how to use it, and this was fall term, it wouldn't let me. It said if you change that, it'll change it for the whole group. And I tried to add new people as they joined the class later in the term, and it said, if you change this, it'll change the group mix. So I know there is a grade override feature, which you might have to use. But you could, a workaround would be to let students assign the grades individually and give them all the same one, except the person who needed a different grade, rather than using the everyone get the same grade. Does that make sense? So I think you would have to go with the individual grading to assign an individual grade. Let's go back to where.
So you can't
I wasn't
just
able
go
to
in Gradebook and change the grades after that's initially assigned?
Grades can be changed, but I think for a group grade, everyone in that group will get the same grade. So if you wanted to do individual grades or one grade that was different from the rest, I think you would have to use the individual setting. Just,
Well, that's annoying. Because what I wanted to do is just give everyone in a group the same grade, but then if like the team decides they want to assess a 10% penalty, I have to go in and manually do that. But I don't want to have to click on everyone in SpeedGrader to get the same grade for groups.
I think there's another place. So if you were to say assign grades to each student individually, there's another place where you can set a default grade in the gradebook. And we'll talk about that in a bit. So I don't know if one makes the other redundant, but I found that this group assignment has been useful for me with an Emporium class. We have 3 different levels, and then the students only see what they're supposed to see. So that's been good. And then as long as I tell it to assign grades to each student individually, I can give each one an individual grade, even though they're part of the same group. So I think if you set this to grade individually, you can still give a group grade by choosing a default. So let's take a look. I think maybe over here. see if I can. So the groups are so small. I don't know. A group grade is the same as an individual grade here. Let's see if we can change the view and look at assignment groups. I think for student groups. I've got 2 in one of these. 2 students. Okay, so Sue, can you see this screen? It says set default grade. So I've set it for individual grading, but I have a default grade option here, and it will let me choose whatever grade. So however many points out of 200, this will assign it to everybody. But then, so like if I say, okay, pretty good job, I'll give you 180. I'm not seeing. I think that you could go in and change those individually because you chose the individual setting. But I'm not seeing the grade I just chose. And we can override already entered grades, but there weren't any. Oops. So it says it was updated. So I'm not, this is my first time to click that, so I'm not sure exactly how that works, but there's a set default grade or a curve grade. So if everyone did kind of badly on a test, the Canvas can curve the grade for you. Maybe here's another points or percentage. Okay, so let me make a note of that. Maybe I can figure out how that works better.
Yeah, try it out and see what.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I have my students working as teams of 3 or 4 on the labs, and so I didn't want to have to grade what they turn in as a team report individually. I wanted to just populate all the students in that team grade, but because otherwise they're all randomly through the course, and that's a lot of work to
find them all. Yeah, herd them all together.
But yeah. I know there'll be a few grades that I have to choose, so if they didn't participate.
So I think you could set it for individual, then use the default. And I'm not sure if this is not a real class shell, so I'm not sure if the response is partly due to that. But I'll look into that and get back to you. In the gradebook, you have, I'd just like to go across the top here. Gradebook options, individual view. So if you wanted to look at student by student, you can use this. Switch it to individual view to talk to students. You select the student down here. So if I wanted to talk to, well, Krish isn't here, so, or I don't think he's here. So we'll talk about him. You can see what his grades are. So like around midterm time, you can advise students or talk to them, or if they are wondering how they're doing, this makes a great way to talk to them. And then to get back to the grade book, use we'll go back in. So those are the 2 things. Gradebook history, you can go back through and see what grades were given. So not something I use. I teach by myself, but you can see who the grader was, who the student was. So you could check by student, the grader, the assignment, and see what's been happening with the grade. Step back through. So this particular gradebook doesn't have a history, but you could search through if you had a large class that you were using. Go back to the yeah, sorry, the samples are small. I didn't want to use my actual students. So you can, your students will be, you can have them lined up A to Z or Z to A, oldest to newest. You can go by number of points on the assignment or the module. So there are a lot of different ways you can look at your data. The names can even be rearranged with this tab below. You can display first name first or last name first, doesn't matter. And they're still alphabetized by last name if you go A to Z. So it just depends on your preference. You can have their ID numbers in there. And so I have their classes listed. SIS ID would be their employee ID at Green River in this case, because these are both employees, but you can have your students lined up by, that secondary information could be their student ID number. I don't know about the rest of you, but our students, they need their ID numbers a lot, and they never know them for the first several weeks. So that's kind of handy to have it right there. Sorting. So I only have 2 in this, but you can go by name, ID number. Integration ID, which I don't think we use, login ID. So I usually just go A to Z or Z to A. Or else you can also look in order of grade. Okay. So I don't have my unpublished assignments up here, but if you click that, it just adds to the clutter. There aren't many assignments in here, but the unpublished ones will say so. And students won't see these, but then you can see, oh yeah, I've got that ready to publish next week. So you can click that open it up and publish it. So you can have that in your view or not, depending on how much clutter you can tolerate. And there is a little notes column you can add. And I've never used this, but you can write yourself a note about a student or what they said they would do. It's going to bring this assignment in or something. Okay, and there's one more filter, modules. So when I use a lot of online tools, and students don't submit information, I go out to the sites to see what they've done and bring that in. So I can check by, go by the modules. So if I go out to Khan Academy to see what everyone's been doing, I can write their grades in here. There are a lot of different ways you can slice the data. So skill mastery at Khan makes it easy to reach, pull these students in or all of the students, so all 4. So here are those grades from before where we set the default grade. So Krish is the only one in his class. That's why. So the default grade was 90%. We gave him 180 out of 200, so that was 90%. So I was not in the right view to see Krish when I set the default grade for that assignment. Okay, so I think that's what it was. So,
oh God.
Yeah, so if I, yeah, I just need a few more students in my group. Yeah, all right. So for me, the filters has been most useful. And then often I'll see how I'm doing, just rearrange your students in grade order, see how they're doing, just get a feel for how the class looks. And this is their, this shows their overall grade right now. And I always bring mine up here front. It's by default, it's at the end, and I have a lot of different grading columns. So I usually move this to the front so I can see it right next to their names. If you want to move these columns around, you can just drag and drop them. So now the students' names are closer in. And sometimes when you're grading, it's easier if you can line up the names and read them closer to the assignment. So if you have a large class, these filters are really useful. There are a couple of, this settings gear has changed a little bit, the content. It's now policies. Late policy, Duva, we were talking about this a minute ago. You can have the an automatic grade applied when they have a missing assignment. So I usually don't have this because if they miss too many assignments and they get all zeros, they lose their motivation. But you can set an automatic grade for missing submissions. I haven't used that, but what I do use is if they are late, I like this feature a lot, automatically apply deduction to late submissions. And my formula, you can use whatever you like. I go 3% a day. And then, so like for 3 weeks, it'll just keep depreciating. And then I stop it at 65%. So if they actually eventually did do it, it's not a failing grade. So whatever your grading scheme is, then after 3 weeks, it's like, okay, you should be doing different work now. And then just save that when you're done, update it. And then the grade posting policy, there are only 2 choices here. Automatically post grades so that as soon as you put the grade into the grade book, it will be visible by the student. They'll get a notification. Or you can manually post grades, in which case they'll be hidden until you release them. So that's kind of like publishing a course versus not publishing. So I think Whitney opens up Canvas, but then the individual teachers have to publish their course before their student can see it. It would be similar. So if you had a large class, lots of individual research projects or something going on, you could be grading them as you went along, and then people wouldn't see the grades until you got them all done. Then they could be released all at once, just depending on your teaching style. Yeah.
So we have a question.
Okay. Yep.
To include ungraded or unsubmitted assignments as 0. I know
Yeah,
how to
you
do it
can
individually, but is there a way to change the setting?
Yes. So unsubmitted grades, just you can put in whatever percentage there you want. And then, so when the due date comes, if there's nothing in that slot, if there was no submission, no score, it will just put in a 0. I don't know if I choose that, let's see, make it that. If we take this out and just say 0 if they're not submitted. So I don't have any deadlines in mind, but that would just fill in a 0 wherever the past due assignments were. So that's the reality check choice. Anyway, I like to give them a slow letdown. My particular demographic, there's a learning curve on getting used to computers, and week 3 is my catch-up week. Students are starting to get behind and they're learning the tools. I don't want to alienate them before they have had a chance to really get familiar with the tools and achieve the level of transparency with the tools that they can actually be learning. So I like to give them a few weeks to play with an assignment before I won't accept it. Let's see. So yeah, it's not very interesting right here with just one person, the high to low and low to high, same sort. Krish is at the top and the bottom of his class at the same time. So this is the grade book. So if you are putting in grades, you can stop here and put in the grades manually. So down here, I've got to get out. Let's look at all assignment groups, all student groups, all modules. So you can just enter numbers here from the grade, or there's also a speed grader. So this is the assignment that Whitney submitted a document for earlier. So it's actually from a math class, but she submitted a document for it. So if we go to speed grader, this is how it looks. And she is submitted it as Krish. And I don't know if any of you saw Ari's rubric class, or she was showing how you can add comments directly. You have a drop-down list here of your students And Chris is the only one in this group, so he's the only name that appears here. This is the group assignment, it says, and so I can read the assignment here and add a comment. Looks great. Gave him the default grade of 180, so this is where that appeared, and submit the comment. It's also possible to attach a document or to make an audio recording. Good job on the assignment, Chris. Keep up the good work. Oh, it's okay. So my mic is blocked on this computer, so I can't actually record it, but you could. And you could also do a video recording. So there's no dialog box here to let me do that easily. So we'll just let it go on this one. But
hey,
that's how you could make.
Is
Yes.
there a way to see what that looks like for the student? Like, I'm just thinking of students who are like, more technology. Is it pretty intuitive for them to find that recording?
So,
You want to try it? I can.
that's a good
show
question.
you the view.
Test student. So you might be able to see it from student view. Let's try that.
If you give Krish some feedback, I can share what it looks like on his end.
Okay. All right, so as said, we need to go to Chrome settings, content,
The
microphone.
very top in your URL, there's
Yes.
a little icon with an X. Yep,
Mic.
that one.
Oh, there it is. All right, awesome. Nice troubleshooting. Good job, Krish. Although I think Whitney did most of the work, I'm gonna let it slide.
And then do you want to share the
Okay.
the audio feedback as well?
Yeah, that was just a transcription. Well, I just lost it, didn't I?
I think it's probably on one of the other tabs. That one. And then if you near
Let me
the
do it.
top.
Just refresh.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, you want to do that's speech to text.
Good job, Krish. I thought that was an excellent paper. All right.
Yeah, it's a
So
group project. Whitney and I did it together.
Awesome. So do a video one.
Mhm.
So really good job, team. I really enjoyed your, oops, got it. All right, here we go. Not nervous at all. Good job, team. I enjoyed what you did with the project and nice work. Good example for the other students. Only 6 seconds. So there was no video. So do I need to upload that then?
Yeah, save.
Just hit the save button and that's it.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it inputs on the comment and then submit overall.
Is his grade gone now? You had a good grade before, Krish. Honest.
Was this assignment on plagiarism or something?
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen really quick.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm acting as Krish and I go to the grades area and he can either click on this comment box and it will open the comments, and he can just click on this and it will open and play. And the same with a video as well. Or they can click on the assignment itself and it will be over here in the comment area and open and play.
Awesome. And if we put a comment on, how you can like add additional comments on each question, do they have to open the assignment like you are right now to see those, I
Yes.
assume? Okay,
Yes.
that makes sense.
And they need to go through, okay. If you leave comments on like individual questions in a quiz, they have to go to the quiz to see it here.
Okay.
But if you leave the comments here in like the overall comments area, they have to go through the gradebook to find those comments. They can't just go directly to the assignment.
Okay.
Oh.
But they'll get a notification that
If they've set up their notifications, yes,
graded
they
up.
will.
Right.
All right, back to you, John.
Oh, yes, back to the screen share. I've got a different view now. I'm full screen. It's overwhelming. Okay. My no control panel. I've lost my bar. Oh, there it
Oh,
is.
you may need to hit escape.
Yeah. I think we're good now. Awesome. Okay. I think that's, this is where you'd make, you could write on there, right? Add comments to the document itself. This is a new feature, right? Or relatively new?
Fairly new and has been updated to be better and better over time.
Yeah. So I, in the past, I've used Google Docs to sort of achieve the same effect. And so I need to explore this more now. I actually became aware of this in Aries' presentation. So I think I'm out of tabs though. Did anyone have other questions? Speed grader, you can just get in and change the grade or comment on the submissions. Oh, I did have, I didn't know, I have some QR codes. These are really useful sites moving forward. There's the Green River College e-learning for faculty site. So if you have a phone that reads QR codes, you can read that in. And this is the address. And then there's Gradebook training, which goes, it's about as much detail as anyone could stand on Gradebook. And here's a link and the QR code for that. And then our Canvas help, which is part of the SharePoint website. You can find help there. I just wanted to provide those. I don't know if anyone, you can read those off of your screen with a phone and then explore more. But I think this is about all I have, unless there's questions.
Can you go back to writing on the document itself, like
Yes.
that you said was fairly new?
Yeah.
Like somebody turns in an essay, because what I've been doing is just downloading it onto a Microsoft or a, like a document, and then doing all my feedback, and then sending it back to them. But if there was an easier way without that step.
So you can anchor, just looking at it now, you can anchor this to a note, like,
Okay, and
nice use of green.
okay. And that,
And then there is a Freeform one that I just did a scribble with.
okay.
And this would assume that a student had like submitted a Word document through Canvas or something?
Yes,
Oh, so if they just filled in a text box, this isn't going to work.
correct.
Okay.
If you have students that submit documents from Google Drive, they will upload as Word documents. So anything from the Google suite of products, their spreadsheets will go up as an Excel document and their slideshows will go up as a PowerPoint. So they would look the same to the teacher,
Okay.
just on different document types.
So if they start with
Let's see,
upload
or
document,
was that? I don't think I can.
I can write on it. Okay. But most of them don't. Okay.
Yeah, so when you have if you have a document that needs to be submitted, someone asked about this recently, and I guess it's not really a gradebook question, but if you have a submission of a file upload, and then we'd have to go to student view from here. So once that FAR tab is in student view, can reload this. Oh, it's not gonna let me. All right, it's not gonna work. Anyway, I was going to try and show you how the assignment would look. You get a tab that shows Google Drive, and then you can select that, and it shows student grants a couple of permissions, and then they can see their own drive. So up here is the submission button, and down below is the Google Drive would appear here, and all of their files, and then they could submit from there. So if they were submitting from another online source, like if they work on Google Drive.
And they also have the ability to download a copy of Microsoft Office Suite to their computer should they not have it and they need it for free.
Awesome. Awesome. That's about all I have, unless there's questions.
Yeah, so Sue says a bit off point, but I have students uploading PDFs and a couple of them open as way too large to see in the window, and the zoom out is not an option. Any hints on what to tell students? And I believe I have some, I believe Wendy also had this issue, and she talked with Canvas support, and they sent back a reasoning why it's happening. So I will forward that information to you.
Does Control minus not work to reduce it?
No,
No?
I don't think so.
Because
No.
like this
No.
screen,
They have to like scroll back and forth, left and right, and up and down to see the whole thing.
so with Control plus, I can enlarge what I'm seeing, and Control minus, I can reduce it. You can't use that on a PDF.
Well, you can, but the ones that they're scanning in, the zoom out is not, it's already zoomed out as far as it'll go.
Okay.
So it won't let you, it'll let you zoom in, which I don't want to do. So.
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Call
I'll
Whit-
forward you that info.
Call Whitney.
Okay. Yeah. All these little things.
Yeah. Yes. It changes every term because they keep making improvements. So.
All right.
So is there anything else? Did I miss anything? Just trying to look at my notes.
Hey, I got one more question.
Sure.
So you said that, this is news to me, that students won't see the comments that are the overall comments on the side unless they go through Gradebook or their grade. Is that what you said? What did you say?
Yes.
Or will they get some notification that there's a comment?
If they set up their notifications to do so, yes.
Okay, so they probably haven't, because they can barely get, I mean, this has been really hard for the ELL students
Yeah.
to figure all this out. So that's why one of my students said, I didn't see your comment and I didn't know, oh, why not? And now I know why not. Because,
Yes, that is why.
okay, so I could just tell her to go to her grade and click on that, and then she would see the comment.
Yeah.
But if it's the comment on a quiz in the little box, that
Then either way would work.
then they can just relook at the assignment and see it. Okay, that seems like a flaw. Does it seem
It
like a
is.
flaw to anyone else?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I actually just troubleshooted this yesterday with someone, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense, but
Okay.
here's why. what you're saying is happening.
Okay, well, now I know what to tell her, but thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
This recording will be edited, right?
Yeah.
I was reminded of Jay Inslee before he closed the state down. They had the cameras rolling for like, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes, and he's fidgeting and looking around. They didn't edit it away for the newscast.
Oh.
So are we over? Is this over?
I think that's
Yeah.
about all I have. So unless
Yeah, one
Whitney
more
wants to
minute.
add something.
You're welcome, Sue. Yeah.
Hey, Falconer, are you still sort of
Yes.
the go-to guy for TS for
Yes. Yeah.
Because I have a really specific thing I'm trying to do, and I think I need one-on-one.
Okay.
So can we set up a time?
Yeah. We can meet in my Zoom room.
Yeah. Okay.
When's good for you?
Anytime. Could be today, sometime today. Do you have any
Okay.
time?